Di era adaptasi kebiasaan baru, pendidikan jarak jauh bukanlah hal yang asing bagi mahasiswa UT. Mahasiswa telah terbiasa memanfaatkan teknologi sebagai alat pendukung pendidikan, terutama teknologi daring.
Di usia ke-36 tahun sejak berdiri pada tanggal 4 September 1984,
Universitas Terbuka.
Universitas Terbuka mampu beradaptasi di era kebiasaan baru. UT sebagai pionir pendidikan tinggi terbuka dan jarak jauh dituntut untuk bergerak lebih cepat dalam menghadapi perubahan yang ada. Dengan capaian jumlah mahasiswa sebanyak 300.000 lebih yang tersebar di seluruh pelosok Indonesia dan luar negeri, UT terus berinovasi dalam mengembangkan kapasitas mahasiswa, mencetak lulusan agar berkarakter dan berdaya saing global dengan memanfaatkan teknologi yang tepat guna. UT terus berusaha menjadi perguruan tinggi terdepan dalam inovasi pendidikan jarak jauh atau PJJ. UT memiliki nilai-nilai inti budaya organisasi yang merupakan pengarah tindakan seluruh pegawai UT dan pihak-pihak yang berkepentingan terhadap UT. Nilai-nilai tersebut dikenal dengan singkatan KIARA, yaitu kualitas, integritas, inovasi, aksesibilitas, relevansi, akuntabilitas. Nilai-nilai tersebut menjadi acuan dalam bekerja dan berperilaku. Saat ini, UT menyelenggarakan lebih dari 40 program studi jenjang sarjana, diploma, magister, serta program doktor ilmu manajemen atau DIM dan administrasi publik atau DAP di bawah 4 fakultas, yakni Fakultas Sains dan Teknologi, FST, Fakultas Ekonomi, FE, Fakultas Hukum, Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik atau FHISIP, dan Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan atau FKIP. Untuk membekali agar memiliki kesiapan belajar, setiap mahasiswa baru wajib mengikuti edukasi keterampilan belajar mahasiswa atau EKBM yang terdiri dari OSMB, Orientasi Studi Mahasiswa Baru, PKBJJ atau Pelatihan Keterampilan Belajar Jarak Jauh. Seiring dengan perkembangan teknologi, UT terus mengembangkan ekosistem pendidikan yang berbasis digital. Saat ini, UT sedang mengembangkan inovasi media pembelajaran modern berupa augmented dan virtual reality yang memberikan pengalaman belajar dalam dunia nyata secara virtual interaktif. Penggunaan berbagai saluran ini dilakukan untuk meningkatkan jumlah angka partisipasi kasar atau APK perguruan tinggi, meningkatkan intensitas dan kualitas interaksi secara lebih terbuka dan leluasa, meningkatkan keterlibatan mahasiswa atau student engagement dalam proses pembelajaran. Penerapan digital ekosistem dimulai dari proses registrasi yang sudah bisa dilakukan secara online, proses pembelajaran baik yang bersifat asinkronus seperti tutorial online atau tuton, maupun sinkronus dalam bentuk tutorial berbasis web atau tuweb, e-lecturing, dan video conference atau VCon, dan ujian online, serta ujian online berbasis web yang dilengkapi dengan aplikasi online proctoring yang telah diuji cobakan di 10 negara dan diimplementasi secara lebih luas pada tahun 2020. Fasilitas lain yang bisa diakses dalam digital ekosistem UT oleh mahasiswa secara online antara lain UT TV, UT Radio, Digital Library atau RBV, OPEC, dan repositori UT, GPO, jurnal online, MOOCs, latihan mandiri, dan dry lab. Selain mengembangkan digital ekosistem, UT tetap menggunakan BAC atau bahan ajar cetak sebagai bahan materi pokok untuk mahasiswa. Seiring perkembangan waktu, bahan ajar cetak mengalami berbagai perubahan, baik secara tampilan maupun materi pengayaan berupa non-cetak. Sebagai salah satu perguruan tinggi yang peduli terhadap mahasiswa berkebutuhan khusus, UT saat ini sedang mengembangkan layanan bagi mereka untuk bisa belajar sesuai dengan kebutuhannya, sehingga mereka dapat belajar, berprestasi, dan mengembangkan kompetensinya secara maksimal.
Sifat distributif perpangkatan terhadap pembagian kurung buka A dibagi B kurung tutup dikali C sama dengan A pangkat C dibagi.
Untuk meningkatkan prestasi dan motivasi mahasiswa, UT terus melakukan kerjasama dengan berbagai mitra dalam penyediaan beasiswa atau bantuan studi yang diberikan kepada mahasiswa berprestasi dan mempunyai keterbatasan secara ekonomi. Kegiatan akademik dan non-akademik sudah dilakukan secara virtual, mulai dari kegiatan sosialisasi promosi, penjalinan kerjasama, seminar nasional dan internasional, pengganti pertemuan tatap muka, dan ujian akhir semester. Layanan akademik dan proses pembelajaran telah sesuai dengan protokol kesehatan yang direkomendasikan oleh pemerintah dan WHO. Inovasi PJJ UT menjadi rujukan perguruan tinggi lain dalam pengelolaan pembelajaran dalam jaringan. Hingga saat ini, UT telah menjalin kerjasama dengan berbagai perguruan tinggi lain untuk menerapkan PJJ dalam hal pengembangan Learning Management System atau LMS, bahan ajar digital, bantuan teknis pelatihan, dan pendampingan. Selain itu, kontribusi UT untuk masyarakat dalam masa pandemi antara lain pemberian layanan pustaka UT secara gratis, penyediaan platform berupa LMS bagi perguruan tinggi lain yang membutuhkan fasilitas pembelajaran jarak jauh, keterlibatan narasumber dari UT di berbagai forum ilmiah, pembagian makanan, sembako, dan masker.
Inovasi hanya bisa terjadi di dalam suatu ekosistem yang tidak dibatasi. Dan ini adalah spirit atau esensi kebijakan Kampus Merdeka kita.
Bentuk kebijakan Kampus Merdeka yang diamanatkan Menteri Pendidikan dan Kebudayaan ditawarkan melalui program mata kuliah mandiri atau PMKM. Sejak 2019, beberapa institusi pendidikan tinggi mengikutkan mahasiswanya untuk mengambil mata kuliah di UT. Hal ini dilakukan untuk memberikan pengalaman belajar online. Saat ini, UT sedang mempersiapkan transformasi dari PTN BLU ke PTN BH agar UT memiliki otonomi yang lebih luas dalam mengembangkan potensi yang ada. Dalam rangka meningkatkan mutu, UT secara berkala mengundang Badan Akreditasi Nasional Perguruan Tinggi atau BANPT. Di samping itu, UT juga secara periodik dan sukarela mengundang badan-badan sertifikasi internasional untuk melakukan review kualitas, yaitu Organization for Standardization atau ISO dan International Council for Distance Education atau ICDE.
Universitas Terbuka merupakan leader di Indonesia jauh sebelum perguruan tinggi lainnya menyelenggarakan pembelajaran jarak jauh secara daring. Universitas Terbuka sudah melakukannya. Selain biaya yang terjangkau dan mudah diakses oleh siapapun, kualitasnya pun terjamin.
Di era adaptasi kebiasaan baru, UT semakin memantapkan jati dirinya sebagai leader institusi pendidikan tinggi jarak jauh di Indonesia. Dengan memanfaatkan kemajuan teknologi informasi dan komunikasi dalam mendukung layanan pembelajaran, saat ini terbukti
UT terdepan dalam inovasi PJJ.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and best wishes to all of us. Thank God our Almighty because over the blessing and graces at this webinar program from UT PPK Bisa called Issues Related to Scientific Public. Presentation, Ethics, and Impact will be presented. And for me as a host, Bradley Afi Jonathan from University Temuka. Previously, I would like to say welcome to Mr. Peter Zuma Osin, PhD candidate from the University of Szeged, Hungary, as the speaker. Good morning. Welcome to Ms. Dewi Patmo, PhD, the head of Institute for Research and Community Services, Universitas Terbuka. Good morning. Welcome to Ms. Madayudi Setiani, PhD from UT. Good morning, and to all my beloved acquaintances from Universitas Terbuka. Before we enter the webinar, I will read out the agenda for this morning. Our agenda today is follows. First is the opening. Second is greeting from the head of Institute for Research and Community Service, Universitas Terbuka. Third, the webinar on the issues related to scientific public presentation, ethics, and impact will be led by moderator Ms. Madayudi Setiani, PhD from UT. The speaker for the webinar on the issues related to the scientific public presentation, ethics, and impact is Mr. Peter Zuma Osin, PhD candidate from University of Szeged, Hungary. And questions and answer session will be put your question in the chat box. And then speaker exposure, and the final is closing. Now, we would like to invite Ms. Dewi Patmo, PhD, the head of Institute for Research and Community Service, Universitas Terbuka, to give us the opening remarks.
Masih mute, Bu. Still mute.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Afi. And good morning for everybody, especially for Peter Zuma Osin, PhD candidate from University Szeged, Hungary. Good morning. I think in Germany right now, it is very early in the morning. And thank you so much for your time and also for your presentation, sharing your information about the scientific publication, presentation, ethic, and impact. I really appreciate that you are able to join us to sharing your expertise, your experience related to the issues that you are going to share with us. And I'm sure this issue, this topic will be very important for lecturer from Open University and also from others university in Indonesia. The topic is important to, to us in order to be success in writing a publication, because publication, scientific publication is very important for every university. So it will be increase their career if they can make the good publication. So I'm sure the topic about the scientific publication, presentation, ethics, and impact will be very useful for us. So Dr. Peter Zuma Osin, PhD candidate, thank you so much for your time. And let's enjoy the presentation. And I'm sure everybody will get benefit from this information and the sharing from Peter Zuma Osin. Okay, thank you. Let's enjoy the presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Devi Patmo, for the inspired and enthusiastic opening this webinar. Let us toward the core event for the related topic. And we would like to invite Ms. Madayudi Setiani, PhD from UT, for lead us as our moderator. Please, Ms. Yudi.
Thank you, Ms. Afi. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Peter Juma Osyeng. Am I mention your names correctly? I'm Made Yudistiani, the moderator of today's seminar. I'm very pleased to see you here and welcome all of you to PPK Bisa seminar. And today's seminar is about issues related to scientific publication presentation, ethics, and impact. Our speaker today is Mr. Peter Juma Osyeng, PhD candidate. And let me introduce him first. His area of expertise are in computational biology and bioinformatics, and then in silico drugs design, machine learning, and forensic science. So a lot of expertise. He obtained his bachelor degree in forensic science in Kenyatta University, Nairobi, Kenya. And he took a master degree at IPB University in the field of computational biology and bioinformatics in 2016. And currently he is a PhD candidate in bioinformatics in University of Szeged in Szeged, Hungary, and Max Planck Institute Bioinformatics in Berlin, Germany from 2019 to date. He also a lecturer in several universities such as Jomo Kenyatta University Agriculture and Technology, University of Nairobi, Technical University of Kenya, Mount Kenya University, and Kirinyaga University. Before the presentation begin, let me tell you how the presentation will go. First, Mr. Peter Osyeng will be invited to present the material. After that, there will be a question and answer session followed by conclusion. And then we now can start to Mr. Peter Juma Osyeng to make his presentation. And time and network is yours, Mr. Peter. Thank you. The time and network is yours. Oh, sorry, your microphone is still mute. Yeah.
Good morning, all of
Good
you.
morning.
Selamat pagi semuanya.
Selamat pagi.
I am going to make a presentation on issues related to scientific publications, ethics, and impacts. I'm much interested in this field because in most cases we find that most of the universities they're not being ranked internationally because of the low number of publication, and it's of great concern for every university to have quite a number of publications, especially the PhD student and master student is one of the prerequisites or one of the reason or mandatory requirement for their graduation. So today we are going to talk about the issues related to scientific publication. I've shared the slides with you. I've written, hope you can, let me share my screen. You're able to see. Hope everyone is able to see the slide. Is it possible to see the slide?
Not yet.
it's now possible, yeah?
Yeah, now it's okay.
Okay. It's okay now, yeah?
Yes.
Yes, so this slide, it has two trans, it has English version and Indonesian version. In case you're not able to understand my English or I'm speaking too fast, you'll be able to read on this on the Indonesian part. So the topic is the issue related to scientific publication, presentation, ethics, and impact. First of all, as scientists, we need to ask ourselves, what is scientific knowledge? It is important for us to understand what is the objective of the research. And we know that research is just an extension of the knowledge beyond what you already know. So when you're doing a research, you have an intention of either coming up with something new, extending what has been there based on the recommendation of the previous studies. And this always it's on basis of something that you already know. For instance, in computer science, there must be, you may be working on a given algorithm or a given method, and you may find that the author in that particular research gave recommendation regarding that particular algorithm, maybe in terms of the performance, maybe in terms of the accuracy. So you as a researcher, you may come in to come up with something new or extend or try to improve on the limitations or the drawbacks of that particular algorithm. So by doing that, you are trying to instill scientific knowledge or you are trying to introduce something new. So what is there is that you must understand that individuals, as individuals, we usually do a research, and for this research to be approved, it must be subjected for judgment or validation by other people, which in most cases refer to these guys as these people as either the reviewers in scientific journals. Those are the people who read your work and validate and see actually if this is actually something that worth to be shared in scientific community. So sharing scientific knowledge, a science is shared knowledge based on common understanding of some aspects of the physical and social world. Anything that you're doing as a scientist, it must be something that can be easily understood by anyone. When you're doing a research, your research should be understood by anyone who reads it, is able to follow it and draw conclusion out of it, because it doesn't make sense for you to do research that people don't understand. Any simple man not able to understand. So whenever you are doing a research or you are writing any scientific work, make it as simple as possible so that anyone is going to understand your work. Remember that when we submit our paper for publication, in most cases, these reviewers are from different fields. They read your work to see if they can see the common aspects, like for example, the results. Are the results easy to understand? Are they well presented? Is the language flowing? Because one of the challenges when you're writing scientific papers or article is the language. I know many people have very good, brilliant ideas when it comes to research, but when it comes to writing the concept, the idea on the paper, it's a great challenge to them. So you find most of the scientists, they go unknown because of that, because their work was done, they did something tremendous or something marvelous, but they couldn't put it in the paper. And that is the reason why we need to understand how to write scientific paper or articles, and even how to publish, and also understand the ethics related to the publication. So one thing that when you are sharing scientific knowledge that you need to understand, first of all, you need to know how to present the work to people. You need to understand the social convention that which usually plays an important role, especially when it comes to reliability of the scientific knowledge or scientific work. You need to understand the social aspect of it, and also you need to know how to present that particular work to the society or the community. The second thing is that most of these publications, they must be subjected to peer review. You have heard people talking about peer-reviewed journals. These are journals that are being reviewed by, this is whereby the article is being reviewed by numerous or people from various fields. And in most cases, good journals have more than one reviewer, more than three reviewers. That's why we call it a peer. It's just individual from different fields read your work. For example, in computer science, someone may be expert in maybe genetic algorithm or data science, artificial intelligence, or for example, in machine learning, or either maybe in the ontology or information retrieval. All those people are engaged, are usually involved in reviewing someone's work or the author's work. Also, another thing that also comes in when it comes to sharing of the scientific knowledge is the thesis. I know some of you are doing masters, some of you are doing PhD. The way you write your thesis really matters a lot, and every institution has its own format of writing this thesis. And sometimes you find some of the university publish these theses internationally, or they put them in the repository in the library. So it's very important to understand how to write thesis, how to write articles or journals, and also how to present this particular work, especially in workshops, international conferences. Most of the time you'll find some of these articles, we present them in the international conferences. And when you present them in international conferences, you find some of your articles, or your article will be published as a proceeding. It will be like a proceeding. So later I'm going to talk about these types of publication, because we have various types of publication. Just to mention a few, we have short communication, scientific reports, technical communications. We have things to do with the original article, review articles. Those are just types of publication, and all of them have their aspects, how to write them. They have their own unique way how to write them and present them. We are going to discuss this in later lectures or in subsequent slides. So why should we publish? It's a very critical question that we need to ask ourselves. Why should you publish your paper? First thing you must know, something that wasn't published, it's as good as something that was not done. You may be doing a research for 6 years and you don't publish it. Someone comes and do the same research for like 6 months, or every 1 year, or even 2 months. Publish that work. You cannot claim someone have taken your idea because you did it. You took 6 years without publishing. Someone comes up with the same idea, do it so fast, publish it, or someone do it within a year, publish the same work. That is the rightful persons that people recognize internationally or nationally that own that particular work. So anything that you do in the lab, anything that you do in computer science, anything that you do in social science, if you do it and you don't publish it, then you may not claim that work. So anything that isn't published, it was not done. And then what you must know is that a paper is an organized description of hypothesis. This is just a definition for an article or a journal or any publication. It's just an organization of the hypothesis, data, and conclusion. And it's usually intended to instruct the reader on what actual research, on how the research was conducted. So if you are research, if you do something in the lab, if you do something in computer science, or you do something in the social science, especially in field studies, if you don't publish it, or it doesn't generate any article, then it may not be as well have been done. It is like you never did anything. So the only thing to show that you did your research is that you need to publish it. And in science, all scientists, everybody strives for publication. I believe we have professors there. The reason why they are professors is because of their publication, nothing else. I believe so. Publications, supervising PhD student, master student, those are one of the prerequisites or one of the requirements for you to actually attain professorship or any academic rank, usually based on publication. Publication is everything, because you cannot supervise a student and not get a publication, a master's and a PhD student without a publication. So it's one of the mandatory requirements for anyone in academia to achieve. And even the researchers, they are known worldwide or internationally because of the publication. So it's something that of great concern in academia, and that's why everybody is striving to have an article or publication. So when you're publishing, you usually have 3 people or 3 parties are usually involved, and this is usually a teamwork. First of all, we have the journal, that is the publisher, we have the reviewers there, and we have the authors. So today our concern is on the authorship. It's very important. Today we want to actually illustrate to you, explain to you, you as an author, how do you prepare these particular articles? In other words, we talk of the manuscript. How do you come up with the manuscript? How do you draft a manuscript? What are the factors that you're supposed to consider when drafting a manuscript? And how should you present that information in a manuscript? It's very important for you as an author. So what are your responsibilities as an author? As an author, you have several responsibilities, especially when it comes to the preparation of the manuscript and the submission. First of all, there are general rules when it comes to the preparations and submission of the manuscript. First, you must ensure that the research is original, it has not been done, it has not been presented anywhere for publication, or it has not been published. This one is of great concern, especially when it comes to scientific ethics, because we find some people manipulate other people's work, which we talk of plagiarism, and it is of it's a great misconduct, especially to the individual and to the institution. So it is important for us to understand some of these rules. First, ensure that the research is new. We talk of the novelty and it's original. Secondly, all the authors listed on the manuscripts should be aware of the submission, because this one is very common, especially to the students who are frustrated. Maybe the supervisor is slow, is not committed. Some students may rush to submit their paper, or some people may take someone's work, they publish it without their consent or their knowledge. So, or some people, or some student, or some author include their friends, maybe their friends in the article, despite that these people, they never participated in the scientific work. They just add their name there. Later, I'm going to explain these things in details and even what are the procedures. We talk of the author's statement, declaration statement. We are going to see how to write author's declaration statement. It is very important, especially when submitting in these big journals. They usually require those kind of things. And all the authors who are listed in the manuscript, all of them should indicate their contribution, or they should describe their contribution on the article, or they should actually shows how they participated in that particular research. The third one is that the agreed manuscript can be examined by anonymous reviewers. That is a rule. That's why we call it a peer review. When you submit this manuscript, it must be subjected to reviewers. It must be subjected to review, sorry. It must be subjected to the review. And what I mean by this is that some of the articles or some of the journals, the reviewers, they're usually anonymous. It's people you don't know, but they're expert in the area that area of your research. And you'll find some of the articles, when you submit them, it's a blind review. They don't disclose the institution, the name of the author, so that there's no biasness, because you'll find some of these reviewers come from your institution, neighboring institution, or affiliated institution. So there can be bias, because you know generally humans, how they are. Sorry, it's my alarm. You know how human are malicious in nature. So we find that, you'll find that sometimes there might be biasness when it comes to reviewing the scientific work. Also, we must provide copies of the related work submitted or published. What do I mean by copies of the related works? For instance, some of this research, like in computer science, in biology, you may be having supplementary files. Supplementary file, for example, we have excess data that you cannot present them in the article. So these, in most cases, we refer to them as supplementary files. Other examples of copies is the author's declaration statement, cover letter. I'm going to show you this later when I'll be talking about writing this scientific work, how to write a good cover letter for your paper to be accepted in a peer-reviewed journal. And also, I'm going to demonstrate to you how to write author's declaration statement. They are very important when it comes to publications.
I'm sorry,
Yes?
Peter. Yeah, your slides doesn't move, so we cannot see the other slides. So
Is it okay?
yeah, but it's just the cover that we can see. So we cannot see the other slides that you explains.
Or the previous, this one?
Yeah, it's just the cover. That's just the titles that you can see.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, sorry. Is it good now? I don't know if it's.
Yes,
Are
yes.
you
Now
able
it's
to
good.
see?
Yes. Yeah. Now
Maybe
it's
I'll put a screenshot. I've shared. I
okay.
put it on the maybe.
Okay.
Like this is okay.
Yeah, that's okay. That's now it's okay. Yes. Yes.
Okay, maybe the way I'm presenting. If I
Yeah.
put like this, tell me if it shows. Like
Okay.
this is. Are you able to see?
No.
Is it moving?
No, it's not move. It doesn't move.
Okay,
But
it's
we
fine.
cannot. We
Sorry
can see
then.
the author responsibilities now. The slides for author responsibilities.
This one is okay, yeah?
Yeah, that's one. It's okay.
Let me present this way.
Yeah. Please
Okay,
continue.
because I put on the view.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
I'm sorry for inconvenience. Is anyone lost? Can I pardon or should I repeat? Is everything saya bisa ulangi? Ada yang bingung atau saya lanjut? Can I continue?
Yeah, you can continue. Yeah.
Okay, so I was talking about the author's responsibility, especially when it comes to the preparations and submissions of the manuscript. And just to recap, I've talked about first is to ensure that the work is original and it's new and it's original. That point talks about the novelty of your research. The second point is that all the authors that are listed in the manuscript should be aware of the submission, and they should agree that the content that are submitted, they participated in, or they participate in that particular research. The third one, I've talked about the agreement of the manuscript to be examined by the anonymous reviewers. I've talked about the reviewers. These are people who read your work, they're experts who read your work, and they judge and they validate your work before it has been published for other people to read or the readers to read your work. And then also I've talked about providing the copies related to the scientific publications. Yeah, I've talked about the supplementary files, I've talked about the cover letters, I've talked about the author's declaration statement, which is very important, especially when you want to publish in this big journal like Q1 journal and Q2 journals. And even, yeah, they always require those documents. And also, you need to obtain a copyright permission if the figure and the table that is produced is yours. Or if it's not yours, we need to seek for the consent of the person who published that work. I'm going to talk about this, especially when in IEEE. In IEEE, that is Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineering, which is a big body that usually publish most of the computer science articles. Before you publish there, you must get a copyright for you to submit your paper there. So I'm going to talk about this one later. And then also, you need to include proper affiliation. What I mean by affiliation, your institution, because this has been a very big challenge to many authors. And that is the reason why you look at your article at the end, there is acknowledgement and there is this thing they refer to as conflicts of interest. Some of the institutions fund your research, like Universitas Terbuka, it may fund you in your research. You need to acknowledge it. And why is it important? These affiliations, putting affiliation in a manuscript help your university to actually be ranked international. In other words, it promotes feasibility of your university. I can just know about Universitas Terbuka when I download an article and read and see the author is coming from Universitas Terbuka. And also, this university is ranked internationally based on the number of publications related to it. That's why it is very important for every affiliation to be included. It doesn't make sense for you to publish a paper, you don't have affiliation, it may not be of relevance, and people may not take it seriously. And also just to emphasize that some of these institutions, like for example, IPB, Universitas Indonesia, Universitas Terbuka, they are known worldwide because of publication. That is a very important aspect when it comes to submission of the article. So what is publishable? It is very important to understand what is it that you want to publish. That's a big question that you need to ask yourself. Can I publish anything? Or should I just publish anything that I'm getting from the lab? So anything that is worth reporting, it is something that publishable. And this question is well answered, especially in the medical field. You may discover something new or a disease, how to either cure a certain disease using a certain medicine, or even to understand the etiology or the origin of a certain disease, especially when you talk about the epidemiology. Or even in computer science, you develop a new application that is of great significance to the society or can solve a certain problem in a society. So some of these things that are publishable is something that it is of interest to the society. So a paper that is reported original and significance, that report original and significant, the word is original, novelty. Significant comes from the impact of that particular work to the society. It will attract a broad spectrum of readers. If you publish, if you do something that is new and have some significant, many people will read your work. That's what this means. Okay, and then also you must understand whatever you're going to write, which we refer to as manuscript or a paper, it is just an organization of a well-written document. And in most cases, you'll find that it is easy for anyone to read, to relate, and also to understand. That is what is referred to as an article. And then a paper that is not concise, then it means that it's not complete. If it doesn't conform with organization, that is in terms of how it is organized, how it is well written, then that paper, we may say that it is not concise and it's not yet complete. And the chances is that the paper will be rejected or will be subjected to major revision. You'll find that when you submit your paper, either it is accepted with minor, major, or rejected. Minor revision, major revision, or rejected. Those are three conditions when you're publishing an article. Oh, sorry. So all these are just Indonesian. So another thing that also we need to understand is that what is acceptable? What is acceptable? So if you want to know what is acceptable, is that first of all, your research will be an extension of the previous work. It means there is something new, but it's not like it is absolutely new, but it is an extension based on the recommendation. Okay. So in most cases, this is not like it is like advanced fundamental. It's not like it's something that is more of like great impact. Maybe it's like, for example, in computer science, an algorithm wasn't working well. It wasn't efficient. You optimize it. When you perform optimization to that algorithm, that optimization technique is an extension of existing method. So anything that is exist and maybe it's not that fast, when you do an extension of it, it simply means it's a simple implementation, which is an extension of the previous research or previous report. And then also you'll find that most of the time, these extensions, they're not accepted. In many big journals, they don't allow those kind of research, like you extend someone's work or you extend your work, you did something, and then you extend on it. That kind of research, it is not, in most cases, they don't accept. And then also, another thing is that you find some researchers they may be working on a given project, and then they fragment that project or that research into smaller subtopics or objective, and then they want to publish it. Also, that kind of work, it is not acceptable. They may not accept because it's like you have for example, the PhD students, you have like 7 objectives, topics are closely related, and then you select or fragment them into small reports. You find those big journals will not accept, but if you go to these small journals, they'll just accept for the purpose of getting your money, which I think is not also important. Also, this is one of the malpractices, especially when people are pursuing PhD and masters. People look for shortcuts, they fragment their research. Another problem is poorly organized. This is a great challenge to everyone. you poorly organize your results or findings, you poorly write your paper, and then verbose, too many words that don't have meaning. You have so many big paragraphs, so many wordings on your article, and you don't actually go straight to the point on your findings. So this one also may lead to poor quality of illustration of your work, and also it may lead to a rejection of your paper. And then you also have the violation of ethical guidelines. This one I'm going to talk about. It is also very important, especially when you look at the similarity index, plagiarisms. All these things contribute to rejection of your article or your manuscript, rejection of your manuscript. Because when you copy someone's work, you don't cite them, you don't paraphrase them, it is unethical. And then also, we talk of the similarity index. You may find that all these things I'm going to discuss about them, yeah? I'm going to discuss about them on how to avoid all these things, which software you're going to use to solve those problems, and also how you're going to review an article for you to write something that is of your own words, so that to avoid this problem of plagiarism, because some people copy paste, which is not ethical at all. So I'm going to discuss this later on how to avoid those, and even which software you're supposed to be using to write your articles. So, scientific misconduct, I've just mentioned a few of them just in the previous slides. So what is this scientific misconduct? First of all, fabrication, falsification, plagiarism, and also other practices. For example, if you are doing a clinical research, you don't get consent from the patients, from the quarters that are, the parties that are involved. All those are misconducts. So in many cases, most of the article will not be accepted if this has been done, if you do misconduct, okay? It is not important. And also, it's not good as a scientist to do something false. I'm going to demonstrate to you on the next slides how there's an author who falsifies someone else's work in physics. He just changed the graphs and labeling of the graphs and claimed that is his work. He really says this person copied everything from the author of that work and just changed the graphs and figures like that, which is very unethical. As scientists, you should not do that. So most of these articles will find that there are so many allegations of the scientific misconduct, and sometimes it may actually lead to retraction of your article. What I mean by retraction of your article, you publish something, for example, this year, and then people find out that the work you published wasn't yours, maybe after 3 months or 6 months. What happened is that article will be retracted. Retracted means removed from the repository or the database of that publisher. And also, you may be subjected to international criminal courts for that, because especially in the field of medicine, people have patent right, intellectual property right. All those things, I believe you guys have some ideas, especially the professors here and those senior researchers. You know what I mean by the intellectual right, property rights, and copyrights, yeah, and patents. When you look at things in terms of patents, intellectual property rights, and then we are royalties, those kind of things are the things that people secure those particular and their new findings in order for someone else not to steal their royalty, the patents, or the copyright. That's why they have these copyright things and all those. So it's a very serious issue, especially in scientific. While this issue of misconduct, we refer to it as the ethics, scientific ethics. Also, there are some useful words that you need to understand, especially as a researcher and someone who intends to write a manuscript. There are two types of plagiarism. You have plagiarism, where you pick from someone's work and we have self-plagiarism. So plagiarism simply means using idea or words of other person without giving them appropriate credit. In other words, what I mean by not giving them appropriate credit is that you don't cite them. You take someone's work, someone's figure, someone's graph, someone's table, someone's data, and you don't acknowledge them, you don't seek their consent, you publish them. That one we refer to as plagiarism. And also copy pasting their work and editing, it is plagiarism. It's not good as a scientist. You need to do something on the original, write it in your own word, do it like your own work. Don't take someone's work. And in case you take someone's work, you cite. That's why we have referencing of the articles. You need to reference your article because, you know, research is an extension. It's coming up of something new because nothing comes from on a silver platter from nowhere, because you must start from somewhere. You cannot say that this research have never been. It has been there, but it has not been done well. So you start from somewhere. And starting from somewhere, you need to look at someone's work. That's why I believe some of those people who are doing PhD and masters, we have this review. You are given an article, you read and review them. You do critical review. Read the article, look at the limitations. What are the advantages of this research? The limitation, and then you build up your research based on the reviewing of the article. It is very important as a scientist. Another aspect is the self-plagiarism. Self-plagiarism, sometimes we refer to it as verbatim, copying or reusing your own research. And in IEEE, this one is very important and very critical. So what I mean by verbatim, copying or reusing your own research is that someone did a research on a given topic. Maybe, for example, you can do a research in genetic algorithm, maybe to actually optimize a given aspect, or if you have algorithm, use the same method. The only thing you change is the data. Same method, the only thing you in computer science. Let me give a good example in computer science. Same algorithm, same method, using different data. Previously, you publish using another data. For example, you can use maybe fingerprint data. Next time, use other image, for example, later. I'm giving a good example of like that, yeah? But the method is the same, yeah? So you'll find in most cases as a scientist, you'll be tempted to use the same, to copy paste or use the same thing to actually write a new article, which I think that one will be like self-plagiarism. That one referred to as self-plagiarism. Same work, different data, or recycling research. You have seen some people recycling a research, doing one research for like 10 years. They recycle the same thing. So the chances of this research to be self-plagiarism is like, it will be very high, yeah? It will be very high. So both of these types of plagiarism is not accepted by most of the scientific publications. They don't accept. Unless you find the predator journals, they just need money from you. They publish for you within a day. So they don't care for these kind of things. And when people go to this kind of mediocre journals, they'll always go because they want to publish something very fast. As long as it's online, they don't care. So this one is of great importance, especially for a serious scientist or those people who are in academia. It's very important. And even I believe in your university, they don't allow this. Before you submit your thesis, it is subjected to plagiarism check to see actually if it's something that is new or it is a research that has been plagiarized or fabricated. So there's also other types of the ethical violation. We have talked about these one, duplications of publications, that is submission of the research finding. Also, there is also this problem of failure to inform the editor of related paper. That's why I'm still using example of IEEE. If you look at the IEEE template, we have subsection of related work, previous work. Because if you did something similar, you need to talk about it first and then introduce your method. That's why you have that section of previous work or related work. So that anybody who reads your work, anybody who look at your work, if it's a reviewer, is able, okay, this work has already been done, but it's an extension, or there's an improvement, or there's something new is introducing in the same method. Yeah. So that is very important. When you're writing an article, if you should not duplicate your work. Also, she need to reveal conflicts of interest. You'll find some people, since they did acknowledge the authors, they don't reveal the conflicts of interest. What I mean by conflicts of interest is whereby you find your supervisor or other researcher have their intention in the article. They'll always say, I want my name to be the first author. I want my name to be the second author. You see, that's a conflict of interest. Or I'm the one who solicits funds for this research. So you'll find that if he's the one who solicits funds for the research, or he's the one who looked for this fund, or the one who got the grants for the research grants. I'm going to talk about how to write a research grant. They'll always want their name to be first. And also, I pose this to the professors here. You know that for you to be ranked or to be promoted as professor, the position, your position in an article is very important, because in the United States, they believe someone who contributed most in the article is someone whose name is last. But in the British system or other system, they believe the first author is someone who contributed most in that particular journal. We talk of the corresponding author, in other words, in a technical term, we talk of the corresponding author. Corresponding author is the someone like own that work. The other people or the other authors refer to them as co-authors. So sometimes there can be a conflict of interest between the corresponding author and the co-author. Corresponding author is that author who is responsible of tracking the manuscript. Whenever the reviewers give the feedback, is the one who is going to follow up and also inform the other authors what is intended to be, what are the reviewers' comment, or what is supposed to be done in the article. Also, another violation is misrepresentation of the research finding. What I mean by misrepresentations of the research finding is whereby you don't present your results appropriately, okay? Or you present your results in a fraudulent way. You manipulate the results. That is to be precise. Manipulations of data is very unethical. You manipulate your results to fit the hypothesis, your own speculation of the research hypothesis, and also you claim which may be not true. Yeah. So all these we refer to them as misrepresentations of the research findings. You present your results selectively, because in research you don't care if the results are true or no, because that is the only way someone else may pick up and improve your research. So you should not do your research in such a way that I want the best result to be presented. These bad ones I'm not going to present. It is very unethical. It is not accepted. This is fraudulent, and it is not allowed in science. So all of your research, present whatever you find. Don't be worried about what people think about, because that is what you did. You follow the protocol and the procedures, your algorithm, you run the algorithm, the code, everything is code, okay? But the finding is not on how you expected. So don't be stressed on how to present. You present that wrong findings, because that is what you are getting. So you should not get worried. Don't manipulate. Don't use fraudulent data. Don't edit anything. Don't do anything that is not accepted. That is what I'm trying to emphasize on that. So all these things at the end of the day will come to be discovered. Yeah? If you do all those ethical violations, you'll get exposed. And when you're exposed, what happens? Your article is retracted. It means it is, what I mean by retraction is it is withdrawn from the repository, from the database. And sometimes your university may be punished also. When someone does ethical violation, some big journal, like for example, PLOS ONE, Nature, BMC, those are big journals, and every researcher actually aspire to publish in those big journals. If you ask professors there, whenever you want to submit your article, they'll always ask you, which journal, what is the impact factor? What is the level in terms of the Q1? Is it first quality, second quality, fourth quality, third quality? Yeah? They'll always be concerned. They'll always, is it Scopus indexed? Is it SIMAGO rank? They'll always be concerned with those because no professor or anybody, serious researcher will want to publish his work in a mediocre journal. What I mean by mediocre journal, those are journals with no impact. They are predator journals. They'll not want to associate with them. They'll not want to associate with wrong journals. Same with you. You don't want to be associated with a person. Yeah? You'll always want to work with a good person or people with good conduct. So you don't want to associate. So everybody strives to avoid that. So if you commit this violation, you'll get exposed. You'll be punished not to publish in any of those good journals. Your university will not be allowed to publish there. Not everyone in that university is not going to be allowed to publish there. You'll be like blacklisted. So it is not ethical. And that is the reason why before you submit your thesis, it is subjected to plagiarism check. And this is one of the main reasons why many papers get rejected. Not writing well, committing ethical violations, and also recycling the research, giving fraudulent results. It is one of the reasons why papers are rejected. And also language is a great channel. How you present, how you communicate your work is very important. So these are just examples. These are examples of paper in physics. This is a paper that was being published, as I was just mentioning to you. It was published in 24th May 2000, yeah? And it is one of those big journals. So you can see here there is some issue related to misconduct. Someone published something on the pioneering paper in physics under suspicion for data manipulations. So you'll find these things, they are real. People do these kind of things. Same paper, someone does manipulation, yeah? You see, this is what I was telling you. Someone changed the data, same results. You see, this is the same. In 2011 February, that's how someone presented same results for the same research. This is how someone present that findings. And then in 2001, this is 2001. Remember, this is the same research. This is the same research. The findings are represented totally different. You can see the figures here. You can see on the x-axis how the figure in terms of the dimension. Someone just manipulated. This is an indication of manipulation of data, yeah? And also results. The graph is the same. If you look at the graph on the left, actually it's the same, yeah. In terms of it's like a sigmoid curve. It's like a sigmoid curve. All of them maintain the sigmoid shape, but in terms of when you look at it in terms of the other side on the right, you'll find that there is change. Yeah, this curve. All of them, they're the same but are presented different. So what I'm trying to say is that there is a striking resemblance of this publication for that. Okay, and you can see same data study of different design, similar record. You look at the noise signal. The noise signal is the same. So this one shows you how some dubious scientists may manipulate other people's work. And it's very unethical because everyone wants to have a paper. He'll do anything to get that paper. He'll manipulate someone's work, which is very unethical. And this one leads to ethical misconduct. It will lead to misconduct, and your paper may be retracted and may be banned to publish in some of these. You see, like this one is Journal in Science, this one is Nature, this one in Science. The same thing, 2001, different. Nature is a high impact journal. So you can see how this may be it's very sad for someone to publish this. This is just a quote. And as I've just mentioned before, is that this paper, when you do manipulation, when you manipulate someone's work, it leads to retraction. This is the letter from the editors from the Journal of Physics, Physical Chemistry. So what they do is that when they identify this misconduct, they retract or they remove your article from their database, and either you may be subjected to you may be sued for that, for fraudulence, because at the same time, you are spoiling the reputation of the publisher, you are spoiling the reputation of your institution, and also you are spoiling your reputation as a scientist yourself. So it is a very serious problem when it comes to publication. And this is one of the great issues in publication. Anything that is scientific publication is a very important thing. It's an important issues that it has been of debate. These are just examples. I put these examples here for you to see how people can really manipulate results. You can see we have the original paper, the orientations in terms of the images. You can see the signals, how the intensity. This one is is for the synthesis of monopeptidase. It's just like a monocrystal. It's in chemistry. All these things are in material science. Yeah. So you can see the same thing. Someone chillax or cut, remove this, put a new image, or just cut this image and give it a label there. Okay. Nothing else this guy have done. It's just those fabrications. All these are just fabrication, manipulating and coming up with the paper, because the graph is almost like the same. If you look at the graph, it's the same, yeah? He just changed the figures here. If you've been very keen, he just changed these figures here. He cuts this one, put his own figures there, but nothing has been done. It is very unethical. So these are some of the issues that is of great concern. So retraction, as I've just been repeating this word severally, removing your article from the database, reporting you, blacklisting your university, blacklisting you, the journalist spoil its reputation, is not good at all. So how do journals, so citations. So how do you avoid these kind of things? You need to cite your work. You read the work before you cite. I've talked about this one. We talk of the literature review or critical review. What you do is that those who are doing masters and PhD, you download articles. In PhD, you need to review at least 50 articles. In masters, 20 to 30 is not bad for masters guide. For master's students, they need to read those articles. And the reason for reading those articles is to actually help you come up with new research concept. That is the reason why you review the articles. You are reviewing those articles to identify the gap in those research, and you build something new out of it. In other words, it's like you're trying to claim a territory, a research scientific territory. Oh, this research was using this method. These are the pros and the cons, the advantages and the disadvantages. And then you pick up from the disadvantages, how can you solve that problem or that disadvantage? So as a scientist, that is the reason why we review this article. You read them, review them, identify the gap or the limitations or the disadvantages, build on those disadvantages. That is the main reason why you review articles. And as you review them, as you will be writing your thesis, as you will be writing your article, what you do is that you cite those journals. Identify this gap in this work. You cite that author and the journal, right? So you cite the author on the text, and then on the references, you put the journal. You put the journal. We call it bibliography. That's what you do. You put on the bibliography, you put the journal, full name and everything. On the text, you cite the author. And there are various types of citing. We are going to look at them, and the software you can use them like APA, Harvard, those kind of things. We are going to discuss them later. So it is very important as a scientist or someone who writes article, as a scholar or an author, to cite your work correctly, because sometimes I've seen people citing the wrong thing. You're talking about genetic algorithm, you're talking about some particle optimization, you are citing genetic algorithm. Those are two different methods, yeah? So if you are, or greedy algorithm, you are citing a wrong optimization techniques. Talking about greedy algorithm or knapsack or genetic algorithm, you are citing different things. So when someone reads your work, it shows how careless you are, how you are not serious when writing. And these are some of the issues that contribute to the rejection of your work, because someone, oh, this one is a joker, this one doesn't understand what he's doing. So the only thing, reject the article, you reject that publication. You have very good results, but you're very careless in writing. Your paper is rejected. So it is very important for you to understand how to cite these things correctly. And I'm going to show you in the subsequent lectures how we can use JabRep for citations. How do you do citation in LaTeX? How do you do citation using the we call it Mendeley? Those are basics ones in Word, yeah? How do you do the citation? And I would really like to demonstrate to you, and also how I'll demonstrate to you how to use very nice software, because when you publish in IEEE, they want you to use LaTeX, they want you to use Overloop, they want you to use TextWork, they want you to use there are so many softwares, yeah? I'm going to discuss them, just to mention a few. but I'm going to discuss with you. I'm going to demonstrate to you. I'm going to show you how they work. I'm going to show you how to install them and how you can write very impressive paper. The first time you submit it like this, it is accepted. To be honest, none of my paper have ever been rejected. And in most cases, I get minimal revision. I get minor revision in most of my publication. Even recently, I just published a single paper. I was the only author in that article, and it was published in a Q1, a very nice journal with no revision at all. Maybe I'll share with you later. So citation is very important when it comes to publications. So you read your work before you cite. That is something I want you to note. You first read your work before you cite so that you don't do the wrong citations. And then also, for you to, before you submit your work, you must use these plagiarism checkers. Okay, these are like softwares for detecting plagiarism. Yeah. So any university, I believe most universities have this software. Before you submit your thesis, they scan through and see if there's any plagiarism on that. And we find that this is very common, especially to the graduate student. Most of the time, you find they do a lot of manipulation. Yeah. So you'll find that you need to check before you submit your thesis to the library or to the repository. You need to check. This is just an illustration from the University of Ohio University. This is what they do, and they say that whether you thought the ignorance, laziness, cultural misconduct may have either not known correct citation practice and struggling. It's just a notion, it's just a quote from these universities that they are very strict when it comes to checking those kind of things. And all these things of plagiarism comes about because someone is lazy to type, someone is lazy to write his own words, he copy-pastes someone's work, which is not good. Writing an article requires dedication, cooperative, and patience. You must be patient. Harus sabar, yeah? Karena, when you are writing these things, you must be patient when you're doing scientific work because anything good doesn't come on a silver platter. You must be patient and write something impressive so that you submit once and your paper is accepted with minor revision and you can proceed with the publication. So how do journal detect and handle the problems in paper? First of all, information received from the reviewers or the editors. This is how they handle these particular problems. First of all, they receive information from the reviewers. Like, for example, I just did submission yesterday. I need to look the reviewers myself. I go to the ResearchGate, look at someone who's an expert in the field, in the area that I've done my research. I propose them as my reviewer. This journal will send my article to those people I proposed because those are anonymous reviewers. They read my work, they'll give the opinion according to their understanding, okay? So what will happen is that the editors will base, the decision of the editor will based on whatever is going to receive from the reviewers, especially if it's a peer review, maybe 6 reviewers. Everybody give his own decision. And then they are going to rate them. Oh, this one accepted this paper. The first reviewer accept, the second reviewer reject, the first reviewer accept, second one reject, third one accept, fourth one accept, the fifth one reject, the sixth one reject. So that paper will be accepted as a major revision because 2 reviewers accepted, 3 reviewers accepted, 3 rejected. So it is in between the balance. So it will be like with a major revision, yeah? And if 4 reviewers or 5 reviewers accept your paper, 1 reject, it is accepted with minor revision because the weight is given for the 5. So your minor revision will be based on the 7th one, the 6th one who gave like critical review or gave a critical review of your work. Also, the literature search for the related paper. This is plagiarism now. The second point is about plagiarism. The first one is the decision from the reviewers or the editors. The second one is based on what? Search. We look at if your work has been done before. That's why when I begin this lecture, I talked about you need to look if this work has been published before or not. So they'll do a search. They look at if related work has been done. If it is similar, they reject. That is how they reject your work. And also, for it to be rejected, it means that it is the withdrawal of the paper from publication. I've talked about this one. It is what is referred to as retraction. To retract is to withdraw the paper from the publications. Yeah? And then also, I've also mentioned this point, you ban the authors from publication in the journal. For example, 3 to 5 years. Okay? So this information, not only for the authors, but even the co-authors are banned. Okay? You ban the author, you inform the co-authors, and the editors of the related journal also is banned. Okay? So what usually happens is that when you commit this scientific publication misconduct, you are banned. Like your university, for example, if your university is used to publishing in Nature or PLOS ONE or even BMC, there are very many big journals. If they are used to those journals and you do a misconduct, your university will be banned for 3 to 5 years. They don't publish there. It means the professors who always publish there, they'll not publish because of your misconduct, which is so sad. So you need to avoid that so that you don't affect or you don't affect others from publishing, or also others are not banned or your university is not banned from publishing that particular nice journal, because most of these journals are the one that makes your work to be seen, because everybody will want to read something on Nature or PLOS ONE, those big journals. Also, for less serious cases, that is when it's not that heinous or it's not that serious misconduct, what may happen is that they may place the author on watch. In other words, they blacklist you. This author, Peter, is prone of this publication misconduct. We blacklist. We want to see if next time Peter submits the same mistake, or Peter does the same thing. Yeah. So they blacklist me. They put me on watch now. They want to see next time we see what he's going to do before he submits his work. So you are on blacklisted, you're on watch. So these are some of the things that may happen to you, especially when they note that you are committing the misconduct. And that's how many journal does that. So I've talked about this one, retraction. Yeah. This is the paper I was just mentioning before about that physics things. Yeah. So this is what will be subjected to. These two papers, they were retracted. Yeah. And they are retracted by Science Direct at Elsevier. These are a nice publisher. Also, Science Direct are very nice publishers. Yeah. So your paper will be retracted. You see the same paper, different titles, and using different results. Yeah. You can see here the results are different. This one, yeah, it has been the same thing. Same thing. Graphs are the same. Everything. And you can see the China, yeah, Chinese guy. It was published in China, if I think so. Yeah. So you find that it is retracted. So that's what happened when they retract. So there are some things that this is just a recap. We are almost ending our lecture. You need to, for you to come up with a good research, there must be cooperation. Yeah? Yes, there must be cooperation. So everybody must take responsibility for any of these scientific publication. This is just to ensure the integrity of the work, and also to avoid this violation of the ethical misconduct. So it is very important for everyone to cooperate, because that's why we need to give consent to all the authors. Because if one author is malicious or is intending to do something, but the other author may alert him or may try to let him avoid that kind of thing. So cooperation is very important. In summary, this is just to summarize, scientific ethics is an integral part of graduate research. And then also you must understand most of this scientific ethics, they comes about in terms of the statements, figures, and tables. Many people, this is where they perform, this is whereby they commit this ethical misconduct, manipulating figures, tables, and statements. This is whereby they do a lot of they reproduce a lot of reports based on these things. And then also publish work that is protected by copyright in law. This is one of the ethical problems, and the integrity of our work depends on this. Copyright permission is only necessary if you are reproducing your work in another publication. That is the only way you can have this copyright. Otherwise, you're not supposed to produce or copy someone's work if you don't have a copyright permission. That's why in IEEE, before you publish there, you need to sign a copyright letter. They give a copyright letter. So these are just the general guides for the authors and scientists, ethical guidelines on publications, and then we talk about on being scientific research. These are just some of the links that I put here. You're able to glimpse through or go through and see if there is something that. So scientific publication is a teamwork. I've already mentioned this one, where we have the editorial office, the author, and the reviewers. All of them, they need to work together. This one, I'm not intending to talk about them today. It is the lecture for the next time, how to write scientific paper. I'm going to talk these things in detail. How do you formulate title? How do you write abstract? And how do you present figures? I'm going to talk about this one later, but today I was just interested to talk about the presentations and how to handle these ethical misconducts. So this is what to avoid. This is what to avoid. What to avoid is that the data without scientific discussion, you should avoid that. And then you should avoid routine synthesis and characterizations of materials or any studies that report incremental advancement. Those are some of, and also using of the phrase novel. You should not write your article, this is a novel research for the first time. Those are not accepted when you are writing your article, And also the name of the scientific names also is of great importance. So these other parts, there is also there's some background noise there. I don't know. So there are some of the 10 criticisms of the incredible dull writing, dull papers. Dull paper, those are not good papers. They avoid focus, they avoid originality and personality, and then you must make the article really long. Writing so long articles, and then they do not indicate any potential implication. Those are dull papers. They don't indicate any potential implications, and also they leave illustration. Too much effort to draw sensible. In other words, they leave a lot of illustrations, and then they omit necessary steps of reasoning. And then using abbreviation also is not allowed in most of the articles. Use too much of abbreviation. Some people don't understand those abbreviations. People get confused. And then making it sound too serious with no significant discussion. The paper looks very serious with nothing to discuss, no information to get there. In other words, there is no take-home message from the article. You have written serious mathematical formulation. Someone get confused. Someone doesn't see the sense out of those mathematics. There's no take-home message. Take-home message is that the summary of everything, the summary of your finding and the impact. And then it focuses on your statistics. Very bad research. Focusing on statistics, and you don't get any inference from those statistics. And also, it supports every statement without references. You just support anything without references. Those are some of the characteristics of incredibly dull papers. In other words, those are mediocre papers. This one leads to rejections of your article. When you submit this when it has all these characteristics, whenever you write your article, you need to cross-check if they conform with these characteristics that are not accepted. If it conforms or it's some of these features on your article, you need to check and make it presentable to avoid to avoid your article from being rejected. So there is also something I wanted to talk about, the impact. People always ask, everybody, all the professors there, all the senior researchers, senior lecturers, all the PhD students, all the masters, I want to publish in a high impact factor. Apa itu impact factor. Apa itu impact factor yang tinggi. Setia peneliti mau publikasi di journal yang impact tinggi. Everybody want to publish in a high impact factor. Impact factor, actually, it is usually calculated as follows. The number of citations within 2 years. That journal, what is the number of citations of that journal within 2 years? berapa kali orang citasi jurnal itu di 2 tahun, in 2 years, yeah? You ask yourself. And then you divide by the number of published paper within 2 years. When that journal is good, many people will publish in that journal. It means if the denominator is big and the citation is big, the number of people citing that work, because most likely when many people publish in your journal, kalau banyak orang publikasi di journal itu, ada makna journal itu, ada impact yang tinggi. Jadi akan ada, there'll be so many published work in that journal. At the same time, there will be very high number of citations. So if you divide the number of citations within 2 years and the number of paper published within 2 years, you get what is known as the impact factor. Okay? So this is just a graphical representation of the impact factor of various journals. Like for example, we have Nature Letters. You can see the impact factor is very high, yeah? We have this one. I don't know what, of something like chemistry. The impact factor is very high, yeah? You can see the impact factor here. So this impact factor depends on the number of citations and the number of publications of the paper within 2 years. So these are just a graphical representation. And also there is something of importance also, people like researchers, or even journal, they look at what is known as the H index. H index is the number of people cites your work, yeah? If you go to the ResearchGate, you will see everyone has his own H index. Also, these journals, they have their own H index. When you look at the CIMAGO rank, they will always see like there is an H index. So you'll see how many people cite the same journal and published in the same journal. We talk of the H index, yeah? So that's how we look at this impact factor. When we are going to write, when we'll be writing the manuscript, maybe I'll be explaining them in details. But for now, this is just a take-home message. First of all, why learn publication ethics? To maintain high scientific quality of the paper. Point out the duplicate or simultaneous submission during peer review process. You need to know the submission by students without consent of the other authors, and then informations on the authentications of the submitted paper. These are 3 take-home message for maintaining scientific quality papers. So those are things that you need to understand before submitting your paper. I think this is the end of my presentation. I'll ask you if you have any question. You can use Indonesian language. I understand Indonesian language. If I'll be able to respond to your questions. Thank you, and I take back the platform to the moderator.
Thank you, Peter.
Yes.
It's a very informative and interesting presentation. And let me make a conclusion for your presentations. So to publish the article in the scientific journal, especially in reputation journal, you have to avoid or you must follow the rules, yeah, for the articles or the journals, and then avoid some things such as you have to avoid to write a dull articles, okay, and then you have
Yes.
you have to avoid all kinds of ethical misconduct. And then you have maybe you can see the impact factor of the journal that you want to publish in the journal that you want to publish. So you can check the impact factor of the journal, so you can know the reputation of the journals. So that's the conclusions, and I would like to invite the questions from the audience. And you in the chatting box, it's some question that already been written. So maybe I can read the
Yeah, maybe you can read.
first. Yeah. Okay. The questions. So the
Yes.
question number 1 is like the who from Andi
Yes.
from Universitas Sultan Ageng Tirtayasa University. So he would like to ask you about what is the difference between the local and international journals. So what is the difference? The what is the ciri-ciri like what kind of the
Yes, I
local
understand
journals
the question.
or international journal? What is the difference? Okay, thank you.
Yes. Yes, just to recap, maksudnya ini, let me use Indonesia and then explain in English. Ya. Maksudnya ini, apa bedanya antara publikasi nasional dan internasional? Ya? Itu maksudnya,
Yes.
apa bedanya? So what is the difference between publishing in the international journals and national journals? Yeah? So the difference here is at national level, for example, in Indonesia, what will happen is that your articles will not be read by someone else apart from the Indonesian and the Malaysians. And also, some of these national journals, they're not Scopus indexed journals, because many international journals will find their Scopus indexed. You'll find some of the articles in the national journals, they are not indexed. A good example is Telecomunica. Yeah, you know that journal, Telecomunica, is a very common journal. Yeah, it's a very common journal in Indonesia, and most people publish there. So first, national journal, most of them you find they're not Scopus indexed. Yeah, majority of them, not all. Some of them are Scopus indexed, and the only limitations is that it can only be cited and can only be read in the specific region or specific country. International journals, in most cases, they are journals that are, first of all, in a basic definition, internationally or globally acknowledged or globally known. And then also, the international journal will find that most of them, they are Scopus indexed and they have been ranked by Simago Journal Ranking. You know what is not? I'm going to explain this one in subsequent lectures. Simago Rank is whereby it's a database for ranking all the journals internationally. Yeah. So all these international journals, if you want to know if it's a good one, if you want to look at the impact factor, in fact, the issue of the impact factor comes in because at national level, you're not able to know the impact factor of the paper because maybe it's not Simago rank. So you may not know the impact factor. You may not calculate the impact factor because the citation depends on the country where the journal is based. And the international one, you are able to look at the citation from the Simago. So in another word, just to summarize, national, it's at the regional base. International, it is recognized by Simago journal ranking. Most of them will find them on the Simago journal ranking. Yeah. So a good example, you can, just to give you a good example, maybe you can Google if you have a phone, try to search Telecomunica in Simago rank journal. You may not find it there, but when you search it in Indonesia, you'll get it. And search IEEE in the Simago ranking, you'll get those journals there. That is the difference, the basic difference for international and national. And it is my advice to you, strive to publish in the international journals, because at national journal, the only person will know your article is Indonesian, Malaysian, because you speak the same language. The other people can cite your work. Internationally, someone from Germany, from Canada, will able to read your work. And it has high reputation compared to national. I think I've answered you in a simpler way. Ya, sudah menjawab Anda ya? Atau masih kurang jelas?
Okay.
Is it clear?
Is it enough, the answers from Peter? If it's enough, I would like to read the second questions. It's like,
Yes.
I just like summarize the questions, like how many years, I think the question is how many years maximum for the references that are called up to date. So how many years, like
Yes.
5 years or 10 years for
Yes,
the
yes, I've got
reference
the point.
research? Yeah.
Yes, I got your point. So in other words, kita harus referensi article yang sudah berapa lama. That is the point. Yeah? How many articles, how do we do the referencing, and which references we should include in our article. This one depends on the type of research you're doing. First of all, if you are dealing with the empirical research, when you deal with the empirical research, that is research, for example, the basics mathematics, whereby you need to cite someone for the article that was published in 1990, you have to cite it. But if you are dealing with the current research, you need to cite articles that have been published recently. In many good journals, they want it to be within 5 years. Within 5 years, the article within 5 years. And just to emphasize, within 5 years, there might be a very small change in that research. Very little might have been done. But if you can cite articles that have been published less than 5 years, the better for you. It means that is a very novel research. It means that that research have not been done for so many years. That's how we look at it. So the lesser the year, the better for you. The more the year, the less relevant your research, because it's like a recycle. Many people have done the same thing for so long. I think I've answered you. Thank you. Sudah menjawab, ya?
Okay. Thank you, Peter, for the answers. So, is it any other questions that you would like to ask? You can
Yes.
raise your hand if you want to ask something to Peter. And you can speak directly. Any other questions for Peter? Or everything is clear? And yeah, it's so informative for us, your presentation. So we can now know how to write the good articles for the reputation journal. So we can avoid some some things such as how to write the interesting articles, and then how to avoid like the articles that might be rejected from the journals. And then most importantly, you have to avoid the ethical conducts, unethical conducts. So you can write what your your own, something like you cannot write something that like copy paste from some, and then you cannot you don't quote our citation the source correctly. So you have to avoid the plagiarism, and it's the most important for the article that is want to be published in the journal or reputable journal. So any other questions? We have some times for like 10 minutes more or 15 minutes. So any other questions? It's the other questions from Pak Yasir from UT.
Yes.
The question is, would you like to explore more about how to be a good reviewer for the journals? Okay.
Yes. Okay. Let me answer. First of all, I didn't introduce myself. Sometimes I feel like people may ask, how do I achieve all these things? I'm an editorial board member in 5 big journals. 2 are from Canada. From IEEE, I'm an editorial board member. And also I'm a reviewer in so many, like, I think like 8 journals. I do review most of the time. Most of my time, I'm always on my books, and I do a lot of review of the article. And I believe for you to be a good reviewer, it depends with your how you write your articles, how many you published in a very nice, reputable journals, and your experience also. Because I believe Ven Pakani knows how I'm very good in international conference presentation. I've been awarded it many times as the best oral presenter, and also I've been invited as moderator in Singapore, Malaysia. I've gone there and also been awarded as the best graduate researcher. All these things contributes for you to be a reviewer. For you to be a reviewer, you must have a good scientific background, scientific knowledge in your area of expertise. Like if you are good in computer science, you're good in medicine, bioinformatics, they'll always look for reviewers. And these reviewers, people recommend you. I told you yesterday, there's an article I did submission. I had to check who is an expert in that area. We check for someone who is an expert in that area. And then from there, you propose, you write a review. Maybe just to share with you my screen, yeah? Sorry for this, yeah? You can see my screen, yeah?
Yes, you can see.
You can see the PDF,
Yeah,
this version,
yeah.
this one, yeah?
Yeah.
So this is what you should, this is a journal of complex network. It's a graph-based method. So what you happen, you suggest reviewers. You submit and suggest someone who to review your work. You need to look for the reviewers yourself. So what happened is that for you to be a reviewer, someone need to acknowledge you based on your publication. So the only thing start writing good articles, start publishing in high impact factor journal, start publishing in international. And for you to do that, you need to know the concepts. You need to understand the basics and the concept and the art for doing that. That's how you should do it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the answers. So yeah, there is one person who would like to ask you something. Bumani. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear? Can you
Yes,
hear me?
yeah, we can hear
Yes,
you.
I can hear you,
Okay.
Mani. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. It's a short questions. On your slide, you
Yes.
mentioned that we have to provide with statistic things, statistic tables.
Yes.
But because I'm
Yes.
a social science lecturer, so my research is on words, words that connect.
Ontology.
Yeah, words that connect result,
Yes.
and very little presentation on statistics. So,
Yes.
what's your opinion on that? Would that be acceptable in the journal? Thank you.
Yeah, it's so technical. Yeah. In other words, your research is like social science. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Mhm.
Yes. And let me tell you one thing. In social science, there must be statistics. I'm very sure you're using things like Likert scales, the level of accepting. Yeah. Some people accept at a Likert scale. You know the Likert scales? Like
Yeah.
fully accept, don't accept. Those Likert scales gives you statistical data. You need to convert those things into statistics.
That is just a supporting data, not the actual data. So is that acceptable also?
You cannot, okay, in many journals, in science, there must be statistics. There must be empirical way of presenting those things. Because if you say it is only data, like words, 50% say yes, 30% say no, 10% like they were, 20% were confused, they were not sure of what they want. You need to present them statistically. You cannot write them in word. In fact, it is so discouraged, they don't accept those kind of research. So my advice is that try to convert them into statistics. Like for example, measure of central tendency, measure of distribution, yeah? Use the normal distribution, those kind of things, yeah? You measure the distribution and also measure the significance, yeah? Because the research is based on hypothesis. You need to test the hypothesis. You cannot do research without hypothesis. Those are your own speculations, yeah? I'm speculating, some people will respond this way. You need to test those hypotheses. And there is an empirical way of testing hypotheses. So those empirical way of testing hypothesis is what you present in terms of the significant level, in terms of the F scores, in terms of the T distribution, the T table, in terms of the individual significance, those kind of things. In other words, you need to do what is known as ANOVA or analysis of variance and multivariance analysis. Yeah, do those kind of things, and your paper will be accepted. And remember, you don't want just to publish anything. Publish something when someone reads your work, sees you as a serious researcher. That is the goal for every researcher. Make it serious so that when the reviewer look at your work, oh, this one is a serious researcher. Let me give the attention, yeah. You draw the attentions of the reviewer. So they sit down, hey, let me read and see what this lady have done, yeah. And the first thing, the impression matters, yeah. It's just like you. For your student to be interested with their lecture, you make nice presentation, nice lecture. They are interested to listen to you. So presentation is very important. So if it's wording, my advice, try to do some statistics, inferentials, estimations, okay? Those kind of basic statistics for you to publish it, because you cannot publish words. Unless, if you want to publish, you may publish as a periodicals, like those magazines, yeah? But it's not science, yeah? It can be like a periodical, yeah? Because there are various types of publication also. You cannot publish it in the science, but like a periodical or a newsletter, yeah? So it really matters. I hope I've answered you. Thank you. Is it clear?
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Peter.
Yes.
Thank you, Peter. For the other audience, any other questions for Peter? We can, yeah, you can ask maybe for 2 or more questions. Nobody? Or you have your all your information that you need, and yeah, I think it's a good presentation and then good questions and answers. If there is no other questions for Peter, maybe we
Yes.
can okay, maybe we can end this seminar. So thank you very much, Peter, for coming to our seminars, PPK Bisa. So maybe in other times we can ask you or invite you again to
Yes.
to give your expertise or your information to our lecturers here or other lecturer in the other universities in Indonesia. So thank you very
And
much.
also,
Yeah.
yes,
We have.
also I wish like it is like maybe next time, if writing now, how to write them, I'll talk about, if probably you guys will invite me again, how now to write the article, a nice one, and how it's supposed to be written, and I'll discuss every section, because also it's a big problem. All the sections need to be written concisely and appropriately.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you like that, and we can also invite you to maybe other topics other times, and then also we also have maybe the time is also running out, and then I think if there is no other questions, we can give Peter applause for interesting and informative presentations.
Thank you.
And thank you for all of you to coming here. So good afternoon. So thank you. And I give back the time and network to the host, Mbak Afi.
Thank you, Miss Madi Yudistiani, for leading us as a moderator. Is very good and very kindly direct us in this webinar with Mr. Peter. Thank you so much, Mr. Peter. Because of the different time, there is you are far and then it's late at night or maybe in the morning. Thank you so much for your time and for your knowledge and your sharing for us today. Of course, for Ms. Mariudi, we would like to thank you. We like to say thank you also, and to all the participants for this webinar. This webinar is very, very encouraging and give us motivation how to make a good proposal, paper, and journal with all the ethics and impact for our own benefit, of course, for our work. So finally, from the deepest of my heart, I do apologize if there were mistakes that I've made. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Best wishes for all of us. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much. Have a pleasant day. Goodbye.
You too.
Thank you,
Bye.
Mr. Peter.
You're welcome. Bye. Have a nice day.
Bye.